All right, guys, at 6 o'clock, we're going to call our board work session to order. Looks like everyone's here but Ruby right now, and Ruby's on her way. She can join us when she gets here. Okay, so the purpose of this board work session is to just go over the conferences that we went to. So those of you that didn't go to a conference, you're just here to listen and jump in and ask questions and do all the same, because I know you got it easy today. The rest of us that went to conferences, which is the three of us, get to kind of talk about some of the things we learned. We don't need like every detail, but maybe just some highlights, what might help others, that kind of stuff. I did put it together, and there's Ruby. Welcome, Ruby. And I will fill in the gaps with what information I have. So I don't know who would like to start. Go for it. Well, I have a lot to go over. Or do you guys want to fill in the gaps for 5 minutes? We could do. You went to some sessions, but me and Ray went to the same exact thing.
I could just say I have like 7 main ones. There's a couple I highlighted. I'll just go and start off. Some of the things that we talked about at the conference were bridging the gap between community and schools, which I think there was a lot of valuable stuff. You have colleagues and stuff. I talked about that a lot. I have books and things from them, and then also there was a lot of valuable information in that session. We both went to that. The other one one of the ones I went to was legislative advocacy, and that was talking about advocating for two legislation for our communities, and especially for smaller rural communities. One of the things that they really hit on was combining with other small communities and advocating together versus individually is more impactful for legislation. The third one was accountability between board members, superintendents, administration, staff, and students, really just across the board. I think that's one we could stand to work on a lot. That one seemed pretty necessary for us. I think there's work for that. Just kind of in the transparency side of things too. The fourth one is decision making. We had some really cool, I'll give you guys these, they're little pamphlets on how to make challenging decisions. I don't remember who talked about that. I think it was small schools, yeah. But there's a lot of, like, it kind of breaks it down for you in these little pamphlets. So if you want to, take one, hang on to it. I thought we both thought that was really valuable, just in how to go about making those types. It asks a lot of questions that we didn't think about right away. I need to copy some of these because I don't know if I have enough. And then if those building a strong foundation and letting success trickle down. So we've kind of started that with the 9th grade 9G track. Yeah, that one is success, which I really love. I think we could start doing that earlier though. I think there's room for that even in the younger grades of setting the bar higher for our kids and helping them reach it earlier on so that we're not constantly putting out fires as they get older. With that comes just relationship building. I think that's something we're already kind of working on. And then I did go to one of the little lunch session things. It was just a mini session thing, and talked about student board representatives. There was one there, a high schooler that was a representative for her student board, and it was really cool talking to her because she had a lot of interesting information about how they go about it. I think she was from Hillsborough or somewhere up there, Beaverton. But they choose a couple from the schools every year, and they actually have kind of a mentor for them, and that bridges the gap between boards and their students. And so I thought there's a lot of value there in how we go about it. I don't know what we've done exactly to recruit student board representatives, but there was even mention of like giving partial credit or community service hours or things like that, awarding them somehow for doing it, so there's more of an incentive. And I think we could definitely implement some of those things to hopefully bring kids in more, because I really think there's a lot of value in having the student board representative if we could get them to speak and get them here to talk, because they, I realize that's a challenge, but those were the main things, my main quick takeaways.
When you talk about relationship building, what's that? Board relationship building? Is that?
Yes. I think it's definitely important between us as a board. I think we really need to know each other better so that we can work on decision making together in a lot of ways. I think there's a lot of us that are new to this, so we're not exactly, tight knit or anything like that. But I do think there's value in being able to speak freely with one another and not have the criticism or not kind of knowing where we all stand. I think also with Dory too, and just even with administration, just making sure we have good relationships across the board with everybody. If there's not tension, that we feel like that our teachers can feel like they can speak to us too, if they have things that they're struggling with. I mean, just on every level.
Yeah, well, teachers really shouldn't be talking to us.
But
about something they struggle
I mean,
with.
up the line, yes.
Their admin team.
Yes. Yes.
They should
But-
only be coming to us if nobody's listened to them
Yeah.
up until
Yes.
then. So we have to remind everybody,
Mhm.
there is a process for a reason.
I do think starting at the bottom and working our way up, I think there's room for improvement. I don't know how they are at our schools. I mean, I hear things occasionally, but I also think our administration does probably a pretty good job at speaking with teachers and things like that. I don't know exactly, but I think we need to make sure that we have strong relationships there, that there is plenty of trust between our teachers and administration so that when they have issues, they can bring it to school and move it up as needed. So, okay, that's all I got. Your turn.
Anyone have questions about any of that?
No, but I love the incentive idea for the.
Yes. I don't think we've ever thought about credit, so that's really valuable.
Yeah.
It seems really easy, like, you're gonna get the students that are already involved in the school
Yeah.
and already kind of like, that kind of kid, which maybe is who you want to hear from anyway.
Well, and I think not limiting it to the kids that we think we want to hear from, I think there's still value in hearing from the kids that maybe aren't enjoying school the most, that aren't involved in everything. I mean, they may not always have the best input, but again, they're just a representative. They're not here to make the decisions. They're just here to help us understand what's going on. And I think regardless of where they're at, in school and how well they're doing, I think there's value in their input.
Was there anything specific on filling the gap between the community and the schools? Any specific strategies?
There was a lot. So one of the things that Young College talked about was serving their students better. So one of the things they started off with doing was doing a community baby shower. And this was just to build trust and connection with the community. I think that's something we kind of lack a lot in. Because I know there's plenty of people that don't necessarily trust what the board does, don't trust what we're doing with the bonds and things like that are skeptical. And I think there's room for that healthy skepticism, but again, I think we can build their trust by doing things like that and having more involvement with the community. What were the other things? Do you remember? They talked about it in Young College.
But the reason that they started that was for their preschool.
They did start that from the preschool, but then again, it all trickled out all there. So, I probably have more in my notes on the one, but engaging, one of them was engaging the community in school activities more, or this was just thoughts I put down, I don't know if it was, serving the community better, engaging more. I'll look in my notes and see if I can find more specifics.
We struggle, as you know.
Yeah.
Bridge
Yes.
the gap between our community
Yes.
and our school. Dory's done a really good job. She's worked really hard.
Mhm.
Infiltrating, is that the right word? Joining some groups in the community, so I think we're more networked within the community now than we probably have been in a long time.
Another thing they did was date nights, I think is what they were talking about, where they provided a meal and childcare to kind of give a date night to parents and help build trust. And I think they also said they started out doing it in like a church or community center, not in the schools at first, because they had a lot of issues with that too. And so it was kind of like,
Well, we tried, we had, it's Oregon Parenting Group, I can't remember their acronym, but they tried using the former Japanese school for parent respite nights.
yeah.
But it
They
was
had one that was a success and then they lost their funding.
How was their, and you said, I think I talked to you a little bit about this maybe, how was their advertisement on that front?
I took the flyers out to all the preschools
Uh-huh.
that I knew of, and we did parent square messages. I even called specific parents and said, like Kelsey Pike, who used to work for us, would you please take your kids and all your friends
to make this successful.
to get this started, because people had to trust and get it started, and you knew it was gonna be hard to start. But
Yeah.
it is hard to get people in the door.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think even flyers went out in the the food bags.
Yes.
Too.
That's right, we did.
How do we do on things like the harvest night that they do over the middle school? How does that for attendance?
Pretty well, actually.
That is really good. And all of the music and the concerts are all good.
Yes.
Parent-teacher conferences is a struggle. And then if I have to do any kind of community forum, something having to do with some of our state grants. I mean, I've done incentives, I mean.
She's tried to pay people, yes.
So that's just like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, but when, Alana had $50 gas cards and we had 4 people show up. And dinner, we had whole dinner that night and childcare.
Okay. I told her the only thing she didn't do was take a minibus around and pick them all up.
We should try.
Yes, maybe we should.
Yeah, I mean, just some creative ideas that we can just, continue to chip away at this.
Yeah.
Our care team meeting, we got our next one on Friday morning, and it just continues to grow. These are the organizations you mentioned, baby shower. We've got the YCCO. We're gonna have one out there.
They usually have one out there.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're, slowly. But yes.
But there's been other ideas we've talked about. I don't remember where the idea came from, but like we talked about a dance for adults. Like we've talked about different things, but it takes a lot of coordination on our behalf that we don't really have in place. And so I think we're open to all ideas. And if anything comes in your brain, like throw it out there. You just never know, it might work for our community. Or if you hear rumblings
I
in the
like the
community.
idea of a block party, but I don't know where that would fall in some of those things. Like, I don't
I mean,
know
to be fair, you could like block party and share days, which is
Yeah.
almost good, I guess. I mean,
Yeah, kind
we
of.
built parking lot, there's people everywhere and all the things, so maybe something like that would work, serve hot dogs and all the things. I don't know, but I think all of it, that would be a lot less to organize.
Yeah.
I have wanted to do a national night out. It's always like maybe the first Wednesday in August. We literally, it used to be like a block party kind of thing in neighborhoods. But in another community, they would do this to bring in all of like the emergency planning and how to have a car seating correctly and
Yes.
more of a health fair.
Right, Little Minot does something
There.
like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Yeah.
Little Minot do it in the IGA parking lot?
I
I
don't
think they do it.
They might, but we've talked about it, but it takes a team to plan those.
Right,
And
coordination.
Get the coordination with YCCO and
The fire
we have
department.
the fire department, nonprofits.
We used to do the back to school bash, which was a big
That's
community.
another one.
With the
right?
churches. Didn't the
Yeah,
churches
well, there'd
help
be
with
like
that?
bounce houses. It was before I started.
Yeah, I thought the churches of the West Valley group or whatever.
I
thought they did that.
Okay.
And then the kitchen used to do the Thanksgiving before
Yes,
COVID
they did.
community meal
that's
too.
actually
And Becky
a
and I
lot
have
of policy. Yeah.
like talked about it. We've tried to get it going again, but it's with just the two of us. Like we've tried to recruit the leadership department or the kids from leadership. It's just, I think when COVID shut everything down, like trying to get everything
Yeah.
back up and going. And
A
now
lot of the
sports are back
community-
up.
Well,
And it was pretty well attended.
And one thing we could talk about too is Churches United for the West Valley do a monthly community there. And they can have 75, 80 people attend. And we could do a district table there just to be present. If a board member wants to attend with me,
That'd be a really
and
good.
then we just sit there and we hook on, because they're totally open.
Yeah, we could just talk and answer questions.
Yep. And just be visible.
Engage with people.
It's just be visible.
People bring their problems.
And some of Julie will report on this, Julie Schumann, the president, that some of the people aren't comfortable to sit and have dinner with other people, so they will take theirs to go.
Okay.
But there is just an opportunity to join something that's already established that people know about. And I think they use the Lutheran Church.
Okay.
And it's quite large. It's typically on a Friday night,
And they do that how often?
once a month,
Okay.
year round.
Where do they do it again?
Yeah, at the Lutheran Church,
Oh, here in.
or not Lutheran Church, the Methodist Church.
Okay.
It's at the Methodist Church.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you figure out the date and get permission to do that, I mean, I'm sure one of us would.
Caitlin with county services, she started setting up a table just of county resources, just to be available, and she's just starting to build relationships with people.
Yeah. So it's working.
So, yeah.
So it would be a long-term investment.
Some of the fun, like, activities for the kids to do, like, we had talked about roller skating at one point, right? Like Walnut City Rollers and really used, they would reserve the, county their building, I don't know what the name of that building is. And they would like have a friend of my wife's, DJ the party, and they just basically just go there and roller skate, like a roller skating rink. Nobody has space. The hardest thing they had was finding space.
Yeah.
And insurance and stuff like that, they would have to carry, and, you know, I know stuff like that would have to
Yeah.
be in place, but those were really fun events. And I was thinking like the gym at this point before the floors are all ready. Yeah.
Make it part of the demolition.
Yeah, like, I mean, this is what I'm talking, just want to have
Right.
some fun events that
I don't know if you
kids
discussed
do.
Yeah.
My kids love it, I would go.
I love the idea of using that gym for something that we wouldn't do it after it's
Yeah.
work done,
Yeah.
but right now, it's kind of like, oh, it is what it is, so.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could roller skate very easily though, with like hoops and stuff.
Make it roller.
Yeah.
Roller
That's where
derby.
you- like where the holes are, where you can move, flyers from bombs.
Just add the word derby. It'll be all right.
Yeah, right?
Right? Just smash it.
It's been part of it.
That's always fun, stuff for the kids to do. It's not a
Yeah.
lot for kids to do around here, so
Yeah,
as a board, we provide activities for kids.
Mhm.
Maybe
Right.
that kind of starts to get behind it, but
yeah,
Mhm.
all good ideas.
Okay, thank you.
Ray, what do you got? What do you remember from our conference?
I know you're gonna talk quite a bit of extensively. I'm just gonna highlight some things that I really honed in on, and that was, the education piece, from this, and what they were talking about. They have a lot of the numbers and the statistics and so forth, but really what it boiled down to is what are we doing about our students that are behind? You know, left behind, so to speak, how much money are we spending on resources to get them caught up? And two, a lot of organizations are now in the mindset of, we are gonna hold students back. At a certain point, if they can't read and write and math and all these things in general senses, right? At a certain point in age, if they can't do those things at a third grade level, they need to be held back. And it's not to do anything negative, it's to help them. And that's, we need to show them the resources and talk to them, the parents, and why it's important that they get held back. And so that was something that I really thought was impactful. You know, I take that as an experience for myself. I wish I would have done that, you know, or had that opportunity. Yes, it would have sucked, right? But at the same time, it would have done me a lot of good. Instead of struggling through the next few years with like trying to get caught up and not understanding and being behind everybody else, it's not a great feeling. And so we are actually helping students to do that in the beginning. Right? The younger they are, the quicker they'll forget it as they grow older. So, so I thought that was really good.
kind of along, I guess, that one. Holding back does have kind of a negative connotation to it, right? Like nobody likes the idea of their kid. But like 1 year of maturity when it comes to sports is like a huge difference, right? So there is a plus to it.
From struggle to success.
Yeah, when you're a year older and one more year, you know, boys, boys ain't girls really, but like boys especially, like that kid can be 4 inches taller and 20 pounds heavier than somebody, so it's like.
Well, I think that is the emphasis too, you would really not recognize it, and how are we recognizing that? What are we doing about it? Really? So, that was just one of the things that I took away. I think there was several different aspects of just in one day, the information that we took in, and all the notes that I recorded, all the speakers and so forth, and the books that she has over there, we were given those, for free. It was fantastic.
Brought them to share.
Not only the speakers that were giving this information out, but providing resources and the tools. It's something I'd like to see more often in these conferences, even the 3-day conferences. What are we taking back with us? Because that's something that's we can bring here and to ourselves as board members. Like, what's our role, right? And we need to remember that. And they have a list of things that talk about that school board norms. You know, they gave out that flyer and we talked about it. And one of the individuals there was a school teacher, a principal, a board member, is now a representative. Right? in the state, and so they've been there, done that kind of thing. and
She's still a board member and a state rep.
And so learned a lot of things along the way, as well as mistakes, and how we come back. So I really appreciated that side of it as well. But again, it comes back to what is our role, right? And like we talked about a minute ago, it's not the teachers, it's the team that's right there.
Yeah.
We're here.
Yep.
And then with her, which will trickle into the students and the teachers, right? We're not here to micromanage, and that was something that was really brought it home to me in that course as well. Yeah, you know.
Thankfully, we're not here to micromanage. I don't have time for that.
No, I don't. So, anyway, yeah, so she'll, again, she's gonna dive deeper into all the other aspects.
I take lots of notes.
I have.
Yeah, you just recorded it and then you can listen again.
Yeah, I find it easier to read my handwriting.
Oh, no, yeah. I can read my handwriting fine. And I think my next hand, I can-
Right.
All right, so we're talking about two separate conferences today. So the first one that we went to is the PRI, Pacific Research Institute, which was led by Lance Azumi. That's the one we were randomly emailed about going to. It was a free conference. It didn't cost us a dime. It was well put on. It was just a one-day thing, which was actually really nice because sometimes I think like the OSBA conference is a little too long for those of us that have children and other things to tend to at home. It's nice to just go out for a day and be done. So, and they packed it full of lots and lots of information. So I'm just going to kind of go through this and break it down based on things that stood out to me. So this conference is kind of like an out-of-the-box style thinking because it wasn't sponsored by OSBA. It wasn't focused about OSBA, which was the first time actually as a board member I'd kind of been introduced to anything outside of OSBA. I just thought that's what ruled us all. And it's not necessarily true. Like we do have flexibility, but we do have laws to follow as well. And OSBA does a really good job of keeping us in that good area. So we're not getting out of it. So we're not breaking any laws. So the goal is, where do we have the wiggle room, right? And that's really what that conference was about, that kind of the wiggle room. But the main topics of discussion, we talked a lot about superintendents. There was no superintendents in the room. That was also what was different than the OSBA conference. OSBA conference, you have a mix of a lot of people, a lot of different positions, admin, you name it, board members. At this conference, it was only board members. So we got to talk openly about our superintendents. These are not things I'm proposing. This is just what was discussed. And we can take it from there if we want. So the average superintendent only lasts 3.5 years on average. But it takes 5 years to learn the job. So congratulations, Dory, you are trained. We kind of hit on this just a little bit ago. We, as the board, we are the superintendent's boss. That's it. We're not the admin boss. We're not the teacher boss. We're not anybody else's boss. Only Dory's or whoever our current superintendent is. And it's not us individually. It's us as a combination. So don't forget that. She works for us. We don't work for her. We work for the community and our students. We must always be giving the superintendent structured feedback as a board and individually. We kind of talked about this already. It's just really important. Like if you have a problem with Dory or something Dory's doing or not doing, it needs to be addressed quickly, politely with Dory. If it's a board issue, it needs to come to the board. If it's a Dory issue, it needs to go to Dory. And you can do that one-on-one. You can do that through your board chair. You can do that however you want. But we don't let things just flounder. Because she can't change something that she doesn't know is a problem. So, and be specific, not just, I don't like the way you did that. Why don't you like the way you did that? Is it your tone of voice? Is it something else? Like, be as specific as you can, because she can't change something if, again, she doesn't know what the problem is. So that's how we can support her and help her grow as an individual. Superintendent raises / contract. It was brought up in our first conference that we can tie superintendent raises to basically performance-based. So like if we're struggling in STAR testing in reading and we're only at 30% passing in 4th grade or whatever, we can ask her, you know, we can tell her, hey, we'll give you a 5% raise if you get it up to 80% or whatever. These are just numbers. These are not the actual realistic numbers. That was one of the things that some districts are doing. I would have to dive into it more to see if it's successful. There was nobody there to say, we did it and it worked. It was just, we're trying this to push our superintendents to push for better results. I'm not a super big numbers person, but I understand where they're going with it. So it's more or less a guarantee for your superintendent to push to get those numbers up. But my fear is if they push those numbers up, then what gets forgotten? So yeah, it's a big discussion item, but
You really have to find out that.
it would take a lot of sitting down and talking about it with Dory, your admin team, to see where.
I would.
Is there, do we have a blind spot? That's what I would look at.
Yeah. Would it be okay time to explain out my contract process?
Absolutely, go for it.
It says, I believe in the contract and in policy, I'll have to double check this, that by March 15th, I've had a conversation to renew my contract. That's why we want to push to get my evaluation done first.
Yeah.
And then I was never trained on this. It's just what I fell into it was I told that the board did with Steve Sugg, is that I sit down with the business manager, the board chair, and the vice chair, and I negotiate my contract.
Yep.
In very, very big districts, the attorney, the superintendent would pay for their own attorney. I have no business doing that. I know my contract, and there has been language changes in the last 3 to 4 years that were directed by the state. It used to be that the board could dismiss me on a dime.
Right.
And then that language has changed because superintendents were just going through such a high turnover and being dismissed without any notice or conversation
Right.
of what was going on.
They didn't have to tell you.
Yeah.
They could just be like, you're done.
So then my contract is negotiated, is sent out to the board, and then the contract is in the board book, it is public, and the board then votes to approve my contract. That starts July 1. So that really needs to get completed probably April at the latest.
Yeah.
We like to get that done, and then that is July 1 to June 30th. But it's weird that it is a revolving 3-year contract, so it's adding on another year. So.
And again, this isn't something like that we have to immediately do. Like, if it's something that perks your interest, just keep it in the back of your mind that you could use that someday if you needed to. Like, if we came up and we were like, gosh, there's a blind spot here, we need to focus on that. You can tie it to her performance, to her race. So, or whoever's in that position. It doesn't have to be Dory. You guys could be years down the road and think about things like this. So I just thought it was interesting. I'd never heard of anyone doing that before. It's not something we've done. So I just thought I'd bring it up. If your superintendent is close to retirement, a timeline should be established to set the district up for the best outcome for the new superintendent when that time comes. If the superintendent is willing to share their retirement plan with the district, it will make that transition easier on everyone down to the classroom level. It is not mandatory for anyone to tell anyone when they're retiring. I just want to make that clear. Like, we are not telling Dory she has to tell us anything. If and when Dory makes a plan and she wants to share it with us, it will set our district up to be more successful. I was really surprised how many other board members I talked to at that first conference that said, oh, well, our superintendent's retiring in 3 years and we know it, and we've got this plan in place, and we've got this admin that we're now grooming to become the next person. And I'm just like, how do you know all this? Who told you? And they're like, oh no, they didn't. We asked them to, and it was just a transparent conversation. And I was like, okay, I like that. I like knowing you can look down the line and get prepared for it. So I don't.
It doesn't necessarily mean to. They have an idea, but things always change.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, there was that bit of
And you can open it, you have to open it up and the hiring pool could end up being better than you thought it was gonna be, and you might hire someone different. There's a lot of things. But you can also think about like all the contacts your current superintendent has, if they're writing those down and actively getting the next person prepared to come into that position.
It's a huge two-way show of trust, right?
Huge.
Like that obviously means they have a very good trust with their superintendent, because if you say 3 years from now out, and you just go, well, I found somebody cooler, I'm telling you, that's a bad trust on that direction. It's like, it's just a good indicator of trust that we have.
We can't dump her anymore if you didn't.
No.
The contract. Not that easily. She has more protection now, which is good. Yeah, so we leave that in Dory's court, but also, again, I tell you guys this so that if someday you're down the road and it's not Dory in that position and she doesn't do the same thing, you know that it's okay to be like, hey, we want to bring you on, would you let us know if you're going to retire in a few years? Like if you're interviewing new people or whatever, like we don't know how long Dory's going to be here. You may or may not have to go through that process. So.
And that the typical appropriate professional window of notification to tell a board is October or November to finish out through June. That's really standard.
Yeah.
And then,
Because a lot of superintendents are going on to other superintendent positions.
right, or they decide, nope, I'm gonna retire.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm done and I'm out of here kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think,
Anything later than that, and you're really gonna be rushing the hire.
yeah,
And that's not good.
well, the hiring process is a lot.
A lot. Thankfully, I
It's a lot, yes, guys. So, yeah, if and when that time comes, be prepared to spend a lot of time dedicated to that. But don't worry, you'll have not just your whole board working on it, but you'll have a lot of other people too. All right, no surprises, no sugar coating, and no board buddies. What do you think I mean there? Huh? So we don't get to buddy up. Okay, doesn't mean we can't communicate. We absolutely can, but we don't get to buddy up. We did see some of that before. We don't want to see that anymore. Okay, we're not going to take sides. We're not going to do all that. We're going to have great conversations. But we also don't get to buddy up with Dory, and Dory doesn't get to buddy up with us. So even though she's going to meet with us, she's going to do all the things. It's going to stay professional, and we're not going to buddy up. So it gets dangerous if the relationship between a board member and a superintendent becomes a buddy relationship. And no sugarcoating things. Dory's really good at this already. She doesn't sugarcoat things. She's pretty good at just giving it to us straight, but we need to give it to her straight too. Not being mean, of course, just factual about things. Okay, don't beat around the bush. No surprises was kind of the theme of that first conference. You know, like we don't want surprises from her. She doesn't want surprises from us. So it's a mutual agreement. It is the board's responsibility to come up with the evaluation questions for the superintendent's review, and we must decide who it goes to. Dory has one that we sent out this year, because by the time I learned this, we were kind of already in the process. It's not a bad one. It's a good one. But really, we should be taking time to review that as a group ahead of time and deciding who it's going to, and then it would go out from there. So it's really our responsibility is what that means.
So this is evaluation questions, not from me. This is the survey.
Yeah.
Survey, okay.
These would be of the admin of schools.
Right, we can direct them to admin, we can direct them to staff, we can direct them to the community. But we would be the ones to come up with what questions we need asked. Okay, third grade gate. Now, we already hit on this a little bit, but it was specifically talked about. Third grade gate is a program Mississippi came up with, I want to say in 22, somewhere in there. It's been a few years. Basically, kids don't pass ELA third grade level testing. You don't go to fourth grade. You stay. There's exceptions to the rule with SPED kids and other things, all that. If you go online and actually type it in through this link, you can find all of their information there through Mississippi. It is actually law in Mississippi. So I was a little surprised to read that. I don't think our state would ever make it a law, but
Did you look into that more or no?
No, I mean, I had my Zoom meeting with Brent. I talked to him about it because he's
He goes all
associated
over
with
the world.
Scooter,
Yeah.
and they're all over the
Yeah.
nation. He said they did try in Florida, and I don't know to what extent.
Mhm.
And he said he thought it was pretty much a fiasco.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, that's what he told me yesterday on Zoom, but I just like, hey, do you know anything about this? Cause I was new to it.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it either. And
Yeah.
so we heard about it at the conference, and then I did a bunch of Googling, because I'm curious. It sounds like it actually has been very successful in Mississippi. They actually went from one of the most poverty, lowest score stricken area in the United States to now some of the highest in a really short window, because they've focused at getting kids on par at a young age, instead of, like we said, letting them flounder all the way through. Oh, now you're a freshman, now we've got to pay attention to you because we got to get you to pass these classes and keep you on track. They're still struggling all the way through. And so I thought it was interesting. It's only reading. They don't have to be on par anywhere else. It's straight up, are you a good reader or not? Why? Because that works everywhere. You have to be a good reader to be successful at all the different things. So anyhow, if you get a few minutes and you can throw that link in your computer and check it out, I thought it was interesting. Lots of articles online. So yeah, basically no one enters the 4th grade until they're at 3rd grade standards. Which goes back to what you said about holding kids back, which we don't do currently. Right, Dory, we don't.
No.
That 3rd grade, 4th grade window is right about the time when they'll start being conscious and embarrassed of it, probably before that, kids are like, gosh, we didn't see too much.
Right.
That's how I'm saying, that's why I like that.
Yeah, it's also the one, I think, where they're developmentally far enough that you can kind of make up a lot of ground in a short amount of time. If you knew a kid was a little behind, you could pull them and really work on them in a couple months and get them a lot farther than you could at kindergarten, whose attention span is everywhere but forward, right? Yeah, and then a lot of them talked about the phonics-based reading programs, which ours is phonics-based. I did ask Dory to look into that. She's like, absolutely, we are. So, and that's been proven since 2000. So don't move away from phonics-based. Oregon did a lot of moving away from everything, and we have generations of kids who don't know how to read very well. So I'm happy to hear we're back on track. Other things that came up, the community school boards of Oregon, I've never heard of. I still don't know a lot about them, but there was a couple of people there that were on it. It's